Best Playbook live show here on the Better Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm social channels. James, we've made it. It's Friday. It's here. 14 games, maybe, on the main slate here. We do have some weather we are watching out in the Cardinals-Mets game. We'll see if that one takes an impact here on tonight's slate to knock this one down to 13 games. But big slate here to finish the week. TGIF, shall I say, James. Thanks God. It is Friday.
Yeah, like the restaurant, TGIF.
Right.
Like the restaurant, TGIF. Yes, TGIF. Thank God it is Friday, like the restaurant. Happy Friday, John. Happy Friday to everyone out there. Good Friday to win some money. I mean, every day ending in day is a good day to win some money, John, especially when you're eating burgers with Jake Burger.
Hashtag green is good is what we used to say.
Green is good. Yeah, green is good. Always good. Interesting slate. I'm hoping it's 13 games by the start of this because 14 games is. I don't think we're going to get a cancellation, and you'll dive into the weather shortly. I think the last two nights have projected to be worse weather, and we've gotten in both those games with really no issue. Like the Boston game was delayed a couple hours the other night and just played through, no issues. And last night there wasn't even a delay. So I don't expect there to be any sort of like real impact on the weather. So it looks like we're going to have 14 games. And boy, let me tell you, I was looking at some things before we hopped on air. It is interesting. When we get to pitcher, I want to go right to ownership. That was the first thing I want to talk about because I put out a tweet. I don't know if you saw it. I am shocked kind of at who the highest rostered or at least expected rostered pitcher is tonight.
Okay.
So I'll leave you there while we, get into Vegas
France because there's no Ellie De La Cruz in the lineup.
It's not JP France, and things have adjusted a little bit, but this pitcher is still second, and I'm still shocked that he's second. So we can get into it in a little bit. We have our normal. We had this thing launch yesterday. I forget what it's called.
Let me see. I'm trying to think about it. It's the draft guide, James.
Yes.
The Fantasy Alarm Fantasy Football Draft Guide is live. Yes, this is an MLB DFS show, but hey, we're here to support the family. You get in access now. You can buy only the draft guide if you want. It is a living draft guide that is updated on site throughout the entire offseason. Up-to-date rankings, projections, player profiles, strategy articles, you name it. We cover it here, and you get it free with a subscription. So why buy just the draft guide? You can buy everything for one low price there of just $19.98 a month with promo code MLB50. So you sign up for an all-pro subscription, whether you're going to go annual or month-to-month, that's fine. 6 months off, 50% off the first 6 months there. You get access to the draft guide. You get access to all of our premium content. So take advantage of it all today. But if you want to just grab the draft guide, eventually grab the cheat sheet as well, that will all be available to you, $26.99. Go to fantasyalarm.com/draft guide to get access to it, or you can go to fantasyalarm.com/all-pro to purchase everything you want today. So, James, housekeeping out of the way. Turn it back over to a little baseball conversation for today.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure. There's some interesting things going on. I believe Rich Hill is still pitching.
Okay,
but there is potentially there's a few places that are listing Mitch Keller as the starter.
Well, that would be unfortunate for my PrizePicks plays of the day because Rich Hill is involved.
I believe it's Rich Hill, but just something to monitor. Nothing out yet for Pittsburgh, so no lineup, so we don't have anything official. But there is some discussion here, and there is Mark chiming in with his question of the day per usual. I know he tinkers with that all day long.
So 5 minutes ago, Dan Zangrill, who on Twitter, Pirates pregame and postgame show host on their play-by-play radio, says that Rich Hill is on the mound tonight. So
good. Okay.
Unless something then has changed from then, 5 minutes ago, play-by-play for the radio, 93.7 The Fan, pre and postgame show host for the Pirates. So
good. Okay. Anyways, let's get into Vegas. Now that we know Rich Hill is still old and is still pitching. Atlanta is a big favorite today, minus 240 against the Colorado Rockies. Jared Schuster versus Dinelson Lamet. Minus 250 is Joe Ryan and the Minnesota Twins taking on the Detroit Tigers that are using an opener on Friday. followed by Tyler Alexander, the lefty. JP France and the Houston Astros minus 165 over the Cincinnati Reds, excuse me. Those are the only really notable.
You say minus 165?
165 for JP France. Yes,
I
sir.
got a different number of on DraftKings, man. I had 140. I bet the Reds money line tonight on the up to cash prop.
Okay.
So I got them at minus 140. If you're telling me they're sorry, I got them at plus 140. What's the
it's plus 140. Yeah, okay, Reds are plus 140. Yep.
Okay, there we go.
It is 145 over on BetMGM, John. If you want to shoot over there, get a little juicier, but not much. That's like it for the money line. Let's look at totals. 9.5. Some places 10 in Yankees Red Sox opened at 9. So there is a lot of movement on the over there. 10.5 is now the total in Colorado Atlanta. 9 implied runs Toronto Texas. 9.5 now in LA and Kansas City. That's been bet up as well. Let's see. That's it. But 5 totals now with at least 9 implied runs, 2 over 10. And we even have the Colorado Atlanta game 10.5. But that shouldn't surprise anyone because, Dinelson Lamet is taking the mound for Colorado. And once again, the chalky Braves in as good of a spot as possible.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're going to be ridiculously highly owned for good reason here tonight, and well, we'll see, I guess, right? Let's talk about who the top rostered pitchers are. Are people spending up tonight, James? Are they going to be able to fit the Braves' expensive bats into their lineups? Where are people going today?
So, yes, I think people will be able to afford anyone they want because recent ownership update and previous ownership update had $8,100 Yu Darvish as the top rostered pitcher of the night, going up against the Tampa Bay Rays, John. And that was obviously very troublesome and surprising because I couldn't be more against the field right now. Like, yes, Tampa's offense has obviously stepped back a little bit lately. They're still overall the number 1 offense in baseball against right-handed pitchers.
So again, going back to PrizePicks, I did the under fantasy score prop for Yu Darvish tonight, which was set at 38.5 for FanDuel scoring, which really isn't all that high. Right. Darvish had only gone over that once in his last 5 starts. You see his DraftKings points there; they're all pretty garbage. Tampa Bay on the year, number 1 in WOBA, number 1 in ISO, number 1 in OPS, number 1 in batting average against right-handed pitching. So, okay. Right?
Yeah. It is solely like if this was a 7-game slate, if this was yesterday's slate, right? If this was 7 games Thursday, I can see a case to get to Darvish because you don't have 27 other pitchers going tonight. You have 27 other options to choose from, and we're choosing to go against the number 1 offense in baseball only off the basis that a guy is 8,100 and at one point in his career was very good.
Right. And you mentioned that like Tampa Bay's taking a slight step back. It's still not like bad. 320 WOBA, 166 ISO the last 2 weeks. Like still pretty good against right-handed pitching. Even if they've like stepped back slightly in a limited sample size, right? Like,
right.
Still very, very good.
I'm not like saying it's like taking a step back where like they're not hitting.
No, I'm
just saying they go from number 1 to like middling, and it's like, okay, that's cause for Yu Darvish at 8,100 being the highest roster pitcher of the slate. I just don't get it. I would. If I'm playing 20 lineups tonight, in 19 of those lineups, let's say I'm in the lineups of 20 that I'm playing like one side or the other, I'm picking the Tampa side in 90% of that argument. So I'm against the field. The other highest owned rostered pitchers, John, are 2 of the highest priced. Joe Ryan is projected the highest ownership. Kevin Gossman, the 3rd highest ownership. And then we have some value guys that we'll get into. No one really getting to McClanahan against San Diego. Nobody really getting to Zach Gallen either, which I find interesting. But what do you think of Ryan and Gossman? I mean, we liked Ryan, but like Another guy, the more you look into it, I just dislike the pitch count quite a
Yeah,
bit the last 3 starts.
I didn't really spend up all that much. And we
Yeah,
talked about this
same.
on the show last night when we made our lineup. We plugged Kopech in. It's kind of where I'm just going again. I'm just kind of plugging Kopech. I can get to Gallon here, but he hasn't been great either. He had that ridiculous stretch. Started to get knocked around. Ryan's been getting hit a little bit, and Minnesota's been playing with pitch counts. McClanahan could shut down any offense at any time, and San Diego certainly have been a disappointment
Right.
for most of this year. Could spend up for McClanahan if you want. And if everybody's playing Gossman, again, no one's probably pitching McClanahan then. They're not going to start a guy against him.
Yep.
Starting Darvish, not
Darvish.
Gossman.
Yep.
And then Gossman, I don't know. Do you want to go against Texas? I don't. That team can score runs with the best of them. So if I'm dart throwing McClanahan, okay going with Gallon. My primary pick here is Kopech.
I agree. I'm okay getting to Gossman. I know, he's had 3 blowups this year: 7 earned, 8 earned, 6 earned. I don't even know if he's given an earned run up other than those 3 starts. He's been so good.
Right. And two of those games were against good offenses.
Right.
I don't know what happens. And Minnesota just, I guess, has his number a little bit. I don't know. 9 walks the last 2 starts against them. You just
don't disrespect Minnesota.
Listen, no bigger Minnesota Twins fans than myself, you, and Mark Pitts and Chad.
Right.
We absolutely love stacking Twins. So
especially Mark. Especially Mark.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree on the Kopech front, by the way. I think Kopech is my favorite arm to go as well. Seattle bottom 10 in every category, top 5 in strikeout rate against righties. So I agree. I'd be perfectly fine getting to Gallon. I know Cleveland has been better, but they've been better against left-handed pitching of late. So I'd be perfectly fine getting to Gallon at 10-2.
Yeah, but this is definitely the right spot, I guess, if you believe in splits. At home this year, Gallon has been unhittable. He's given up 5 total earned in 7 starts. 7 starts, 5 total earned runs allowed, 60 strikeouts in 47 innings. So if you're a home road splits believer kind of guy, Gallon likes his own bed, likes the Arizona cuisine. He's been absolutely dominant at home this season. So that's again, he's in my player pool. Him, McClanahan, Kopech up at the top. If we're in the mid tier, I don't mind going opposite of Gallon, but I also don't mind stacking against McKenzie. He's been lights out, and he's been terrible. We know he's a really good pitcher. Right. So one of those 2 things could happen, depending if you want to be a little different tonight. And then Mark wants to know, is Teheran real, or is Swinsky going yard, or both? It could be both.
Yeah, it could definitely be both. I mean, Swinsky could also hit 2.
Pittsburgh's a middling offense this year against righties. If you look at their FanGraph numbers, they're not the worst teams in the baseball, but they're not the best team at all either. So, and Teheran, outside of that 1 start where he had no strikeouts, 5 or more strikeouts in the other 3. So, there's definitely fantasy appeal here. I could get to him. The only reason I haven't gotten to him is because I am all in on Rich Hill tonight. I'm pitching a lot of Rich Hill at $6,700. He's been good his last 2 starts. Again, a guy that can still strike team guys out at 45 years old, or 44, however the heck old he is. And then you want to talk about a team that is really bad. That's Milwaukee. Against left-handed pitching on the year, they're among the worst teams in all of baseball. Strikeout rates among the worst in baseball. Recency, 14-game sample size, they've been a little bit better. But I'm going to believe in Rich Hill here tonight at $6,700.
Yeah, one of the highest rostered pitchers, top 6 of the slate. Look, it's Joe Ryan, Yu Darvish, Kevin Gossman, Brian Wu, who we'll get to.
On FanDuel, Rich Hill's only $8K tonight. That's a free play.
Free square. Too, right? Yeah, it's a free play. Especially Rich Hill getting deep into games was not on my bingo card in 2023.
12 starts in 3 of the last 5.
Dude. Is this the College World Series where we're seeing pitchers throw 130 pitch, 119 pitches his last start? What are we just banking on 45-year-old Rich Hill to break down? They're just might as well just get out whatever we can of him.
I think that's how he's looking at it, right? He's listen, I'm from the rubber arm generation, I'm not this millennial, He remembers TGI Fridays, he remembers.
He might have created TGI Fridays. Yeah. He also had He also didn't pitch for 4 years because he had nail issues where he couldn't throw because his nail would break every time he pitched. So he has a fresh arm at 45. Look, I like Rich Hill. We pick on Milwaukee every time they face a lefty. This is no different. I do want to ask about two guys right above him because they're all around the same rostership. One of which I really like. I like Taijuan Walker against Oakland. I know Oakland's been a little better against right-handed pitching, but Taijuan Walker's been pretty good of late. And he's not really getting a lot of ownership, and he's really cheap, and his offense has been really good as well. But JP France, dude, is getting a lot of love. And me and you talk a lot about JP France, and I understand that JP France has been pretty decent from a fantasy point perspective over his last 4 starts. He has been. I mean, 17, 17, 15, 23. The strikeouts have been there in all but the Angels start.
And he's only won one of those games.
But, you look at the numbers for JP France when you consider, especially versus right-handed bats. Then you take a look at the Reds lineup, okay? Here's the Reds lineup. Lefty, 8 righties. That is the lineup. Then you pair that with JP France splits this year. Lefty's doing nothing. 105 ISO, 220 WOBA. Right-handed bats, 288 ISO, 391 WOBA. Crushing him. 37% fly ball rate, 54% hard hit rate against righties. What are we doing?
It's almost unfortunate that they're leading off Friedel tonight because he's the only lefty in their bat. It's like, why not just hit Newman, who's hitting 9th, lead off? Because he leads off against lefties. Just lead him off tonight. You see the splits. No Ellie De La Cruz in that lineup tonight, and he would have been hitting lefty anyways. But, that's, I guess, maybe a slight worry because he's such a difference maker in that lineup. But, I mean, I put Jonathan India as my home run call in your tweet today, plus 550. I bet the Reds on the money line tonight at plus 140, taking the DraftKings promo up to cash instant play because I think they could get to France here early. The over half a run scored in the first inning of this game is also minus 120. So Vegas thinks somebody's scoring, whether it be Houston off Abbott or Cincinnati here off France. And since he gets the first crack at it, so I like going against France tonight. If you're telling me people are in on France tonight, then possibly here. You mentioned Taijuan Walker. I got Ice through there in chat mentioning him there, but he also mentions a guy you talked about on the stream last night as well in Wu of Seattle.
Yeah, so I do think he is in play, and we saw. Look, the White Sox offense has kind of woken up the last 2 nights, right? They hit 4 home runs. Now, they didn't score a lot of runs last night, but they hit 4 home runs, right? With Eloy back, it's a better lineup. And we said it yesterday, Jake Berger's going to hit 35 home runs this year and nobody cares. And he has a massive ISO against right-handed pitching. But Brian Wu had a lot of strikeouts in the minor leagues, had to make his debut against the Texas Rangers, which you've talked about at the top of the stream. Right. I mean, you talked about one of the best pitchers in baseball that you're afraid to use against Texas, not Brian Wu, let alone Brian Wu. And he came back a second start, and it was only 4 2/3, but a good Angels offense, 7 strikeouts over 4 2/3 innings. And 81 pitches leaves a little bit to be desired, but I think that their strikeout appeal here against the White Sox, they have a 23% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching this year. They've ranked near the bottom in terms of pretty much every offensive category. They're 27th in OPS against righties. So, and you know what? Wu is going to be popular. There's typically one of these guys per slate that is garnering a lot of ownership to afford the likes of Atlanta tonight specifically, right? You're not affording Atlanta without a Brian Wu or a Rich Hill or a Taijuan Walker or 2 of them, right? So, I do think Brian Wu's in play. Now, I like the leverage I'd get off spending a little more on Rich Hill or Taijuan Walker because Wu is one of 4 pitchers that are projected to be 20% owned.
Wu is projected to be 20%?
Yeah, he is the 4 pitchers 20% or more. Ryan, Darvish, Gossman, and Wu, followed by JP France 5th, which is why all those righties.
I hate most of those guys tonight. Yeah.
I mean, like,
John is going to be unintentionally contrarian tonight because I was going up against those guys anyways. So.
Well, you can be contrarian because we're gonna like, especially at pitcher. Because if you want to play Braves, like you're not gonna be contrarian. Like if you're playing Braves, you, me, and 7,000 of our best friends are all playing Braves with us tonight.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. It's too bad that Sheehan kid isn't on the slate. I don't know if you saw his peak. His numbers at Double A.
I sure did.
Like 2 strikeouts an inning, basically, is what he's averaging there.
Yep.
I saw some of his scouting reports. They gave him an A++ fastball with a plus slider. Like, guy seems like he's going to be nasty now. He's only pitched at Double A. So probably out on any Giants offense here tonight when it was looking like maybe it was Matt Andrees. Not to be the case. They're calling up a stud pitching prospect here. Not on the slate, though, so I can't use them at all here. Any other pitchers for you tonight? Mark wants to know love for Martin Perez, $6,200. Toronto's recent struggles against lefties. Perez, I mean, tough outing against Detroit, tough outing against Tampa. Around that, though, some pretty good outings against Colorado, Pittsburgh, and St. Louis.
I'm a little indifferent. Like, the Blue Jays have a pretty interesting lineup tonight. Springer, Merrifield, Bichette, Guerrero, Kirk, Chapman, Jansen, Varsho, Espinal. Like, that's a pretty good lineup. Also, I know they've struggled against lefties lately, but I mean, 5 of their top 6 hitters all profiled pretty good against lefties, with the exception of Alejandro Kirk. Danny Jansen has over a 300 ISO against lefties as well. And you look at Martin Perez, 336 WOBA allowed to righties, 375 WOBA allowed to lefties. So even when he gets down to Varsho and like he still struggles there, I'm gonna stay away. I mean, if you want to go there, Mark, like I know the tournament that you play multiple lineups, so like you could afford to play him in one, but like when he's priced around like 3 other guys that I think.
I mean, nobody will be on him, so contrarian play for tonight. Last 30 days, Toronto 092 ISO against left-handed pitching, just a 294 WOBA, 246 batting average, 17% strikeout rates, nothing special there.
And he doesn't strike people out. That's the part. He does not miss bats.
The last 2 weeks, again, super small sample size, only 50 at bat, 051 ISO against left-handed pitching. So just zero power coming from Toronto against lefties. So, they're at home. So if you could go there, I won't completely shut it down, but definitely a tournament play, contrarian option on tonight's slate. Let's take a look here at the hitters now. We'll go on over to catchers. Talk to me about some of your favorite behind the plate here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, so JT Realmuto has to be, I think, in consideration just given recent form. And by recent, I mean the last 3 games have been pretty ridiculous for him. A cycle, an almost cycle, a 2-run home run. There's a stolen base mixed in. Like, we are getting peak JT Realmuto form, and this is why every year he ends as the top 2 catcher pretty much across the board in fantasy. So I like spending up there. I like Travis d'Arnaud hitting 4th tonight. Really, really good spot for d'Arnaud. I know he has been better against lefties throughout his career, but you're putting a cheap guy relative to the rest of his lineup hitting 4th tonight. He was good against righties last year, and so I expect this sample to play out differently. Like 196 ISO last year in a 350 plate appearance sample, just a 148 ISO this year in a 67 plate appearance sample. So d'Arnaud has plenty of power against righties. Dinelson Lamet has a 400 WOBA allowed to righties, a 500 WOBA to lefties. So Realmuto, d'Arnaud for me above 4K are like the 2 clear-cut options, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm fine going there as well. If we're looking down at the value tier, I just, again, go to sort of the Angels catchers, right?
Yep. Wallach hitting 5th, or Tice hitting 5th, I mean.
Yeah, Tice, right, exactly. Hitting 5th against Singer. Sign me up. $2,900, absolutely zero problem going there. You have Connor Wong against a righty tonight if you want to go them at home. Good spot hitting 8th here. Anybody else for you for value?
Tyler Stevenson, 3,700 if you're interested in not playing JP France. The power has been slowly coming back for Tyler Stevenson. The hits were too before this recent 0 for 8 stretch. So I can get there. I'm not like really afraid to get to Kybert Ruiz facing Sandy Alcantara. Kybert's been really good of late. 4 home runs in his last 10 games, including a home run yesterday that really that you enjoyed quite a bit. So I can get to Kybert. I'm okay going into Yainer Diaz, who continues to be really good, hitting in a really good spot for Houston. And I mean, like Abbott. So, like Abbott is interesting because he's been really good, but he's definitely gotten away with murder. I mean, he's walked a lot of people. 5.4 walks per 9.
Yeah.
Got 0 ERA this year. Hasn't allowed an earned run. He has a 5.27 xFIP through his first 2 games. Obviously, 100% left on base percentage because nobody scored against him. But he doesn't allow ground balls. And he has a 47% fly ball rate tonight, or coming into this start. So I could see Houston being a really interesting option. And I'm now flipping completely. Like I told you on last night's pod, halfway through, I was like, maybe like Abbott could be. No. All the peripheral stats are not looking good for him. He is not going to fare well against this offense if he walks 4 people and there's just constant traffic.
I agree with you. A lot of power there at the end of the lineup there, too. Guys like Travis McCormick tonight down there. Myers, we talked about down at the lineup for Houston. So could be in some trouble there. Again, game is probably going to be pretty high scoring because we're also against France here tonight as well that we like. Over at the first base position here, again, I like Tampa Bay. Luke Raley, Yandy Diaz are all in play. Spencer Steer for me at $4,400. Also a guy that I find myself gravitating some of my lineups to there.
Yeah, Spencer Steer has a ton of power. Yandy Diaz definitely in play. He's starting to cook again. 3 hits in yesterday's game, or 2 days ago, Wednesday's game. He didn't play on Thursday. So I definitely like the Rays guys. Can someone answer why not a lot of people are getting to Matt Olson? Is it a price thing? Like I don't know. Like
could be $6,300 is a lot of money for Matt Olson here.
Yeah, but like I don't necessarily disagree, and I know there's been struggles, right? Against right-handed pitching, he is their best player. 303 ISO, 398 WOBA. I know he's hitting 5th. Dennis Lamet has allowed a 310 ISO and a 500 WOBA. What am I missing? I don't know. Matt Olson. Give me Matt Olson. I don't know. Give me Matt Olson. Yeah. I'm just going to keep screaming it.
I think it's about it depends on how you can fit guys in your lineup, right? Who's the top roster first baseman tonight?
Shohei, but he has multiple position
Who's
eligibility.
The second, then?
Justin Turner, who also has multiple position eligibility.
Okay.
And then Rizzo.
Turner is kind of interesting though, right? Like not against a lefty, against a righty, $3,900 at home.
Yeah, he's just been solid. Like he's been really good. RBIs in 4 straight games, multiple hit games in 4 of his last 6. 3,900. It's a good price. It's a good play. Yeah, I can get there.
Interesting that he's up there. Not interesting as I like him. I'm surprised people are that high on Turner tonight. Abreu for me, $3,100. Just go back to that well for some value.
Yes.
No problems doing that one there. Let's see. Anybody else for you? Solano hitting 5th tonight. Will eventually get a lefty. Tyler Alexander will come into this game.
Yeah, Tyler Alexander will come into the game. Yeah, I'm okay getting to Solano. I wonder if it's so weird because they're starting leading Julian off, knowing I know, but you could play Ohtani in the outfield. Just play them both. If you're 20% of the field is playing Brian Wu. You can afford both. You can afford both of them if you're.
Tony hits a home run every 12 hours. It's true.
It is true. Half the field is playing Brian Wu and Yu Darvish, and that costs you like $12,000. That costs you Ohtani's salary and just pitcher spot, like
pretty much.
So I'm just saying, like, I don't think there's. You could just. Listen, I'm not fading Ohtani. I made John put him at. I mean, we made it. We. Conversely, he has the 3 longest. Did you see this stat today? He has the 3 longest opposite field home run hit this year.
It
was like 2 days ago, 3 days ago, and yesterday, all 3 in a row, just like tanks. I mean, he's the best player in baseball right now.
Bowers or Solano tonight?
Solano. He's getting a lefty for majority of this game.
I'm with you. All right, let's go to second base. Sound good?
Well, yeah. I mean, other than the fact that we're selling the NFL draft guide right now, John, I don't know.
Well, yeah, fantasy football draft guide's live. That's true.
Fantasy football draft guide's live.
But we can go to second base here.
Oh,
we'll tout the draft guide. We'll tout the draft guide at the end of the day.
Fine.
End of the show. Draft guide promo. I already told you Jonathan India is my home run call for today. So
yeah,
$4,900 hitting third. JP France. I'm in. That's where I'm going here at the top of the second base group.
Yeah, and he's been better against righties. We've talked about that a lot this year. Now, not the best ISO, 155, but 359 WOBA, and he is a guy who has flashed some power in his.
I like the ballpark too. It's a good ballpark. That shallow left field in Houston.
Yeah, Jose Altuve's made a career hitting 30 home runs on 317-foot home runs that go out over that wall.
Right.
And speaking of Altuve, 4,700 right below. I know he has struggled against lefties, but I would be willing to get to either second. Honestly, I'd be willing to get to all 3 second basemen in this game. 4 second basemen in this game. I was going to say,
they gave Matt McClain second base eligibility here.
And Dubois has second base eligibility. Like, I'll play them all.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, I like all of those plays there as well here. If you're not in on Rich Hill, Owen Miller's $4,200 could go there tonight as well. Let's see what value. Julian leading off. He is a lefty, so a lefty will come in this game eventually, but not bad. Not a bad spot.
It is a good spot. He's a good hitter. I think he's going to stick on this team. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Polanco. He's just injured so often. So, yeah, I like Julian, but the lefty thing is a little worrisome against lefties this year. He is one hit.
Yeah.
So it's like it's the smallest plate appearance sample of all time, but yeah.
I mean, they're leading him off knowing that a lefty's coming in at some point. So
right.
they obviously don't seem to care too much about it. So, anybody else in second base for you?
Yes. Where did he go? I lost it. Whit Merrifield hitting second tonight.
Okay.
I kind of like that. Martin Perez has struggled against righties, so
I like that. I like Whit Merrifield. Some little stolen base upside should he find his way onto the plate there. Third base. Talk to me about your top third baseman of the day.
So I could definitely get to Devers. He has one of the best home run odds of the day against Domingo Germán. We know he enjoys facing Yankees pitching his entire career. Austin Riley, 5,500. He's coming around against righties. I know he's been largely better against lefties, but they have the highest. They have a 6.5 implied run total. The Braves do. Riley, 153 ISO, 325 WOBA this year. Last year, 222 ISO, 347 WOBA against right-handed pitching. And we've already talked about Dennis Lamet being bad. So Devers, Riley, both in play. And then it's probably Bregman would probably be like the 3 guys I'd get to. I'd obviously play Jose Ramirez in any setting right now, just considering how good he's been. I mean, because he's still too cheap. He needs to be over 5K for me.
I mean, 3 hits last night. We talked about it like he was on the wrong side of his split and still destroyed. So no problems at all. Still a bag yesterday. So just giving you the full experience there. I'll go Ramirez as well. I like that call. Senzel has some power, so I'm fine going with Senzel here against France, as we've talked about it as well. What do you make of Alcantara versus Washington? Because he's been bad.
Yes,
he was good last start, but on a whole, he's been bad. Is Washington at all sneaky for you? Against a righty again, they didn't score on him, but they did give Javier some trouble last night getting men on base.
Yeah.
Would you have any interest in some of these Washington players today?
I think it's more so what I felt about Javier last night. It feels like a situation I'd want to stay away from, especially on a
Okay.
14 game slate. Like,
Okay.
I don't know. Even the numbers for Sandy, nothing is like, wow, I need to play a lefty or righty. Like, lefties have a 144 ISO and a 300 WOBA. Righties have an 089 ISO and a 280 WOBA. Like, I know the numbers haven't been great. The strikeouts have been way down this year, but not enough bad stats. Like, the ERA is bad, and
Yeah.
he hasn't obviously looked like he was last year, but still the numbers don't suggest like one-offs. That's it. If you're playing Nats, I'm not stacking them. I'm playing as well.
Okay. That's fine. Just asking because of how up and down that he's been.
I think brings in a good question. BZ asked 3-2-2-1 stack. He said 3-2-2, but 3-2 for a single entry. No, that's good, dude. I think that's a comfortable and happy Friday to you, BZ. Regular here.
I think that's usually how I build out. Occasionally we'll build a lineup. We'll have like a 4 stack in there too, depending on the spot. But 3-2-2 is pretty good. 3-2-2-1 is pretty good. However you build it out, that works. You just want correlation. If you can kind of string some players together, that's fine. Get it so there's a chance where one guy could drive in another. All of that goes in there. Mark wants to know how many lineups are we making before Donaldson finds his way into a lineup on the road against a righty. How many Donaldson lineups do you got tonight?
how many Donaldson lineups do you have tonight? That's the answer.
I got none.
Yeah, same. Here's what I'll say. You and I talked about this a lot last year, and it like came through. Josh Donaldson on the road against a lefty.
Yeah.
This is a righty that struggles against lefties specifically. So I probably won't play Josh Donaldson. I'd rather just play Royce Lewis for $100 or for the same price. I'd rather just play our boy Jake Berger for $100 more against Brian Wu, or I'd rather just play Alec Boehm for $200 less.
We have a $2,200 Michael Garcia against a lefty down here, hitting fifth.
Yes.
That's the right split for him. He's got hits in 6 of 7, quick math. Maybe like 8 of 10 games he's got hits in. I mean, I kind of like that spot for him here.
Yeah, 205 ISO, 369 WOBA against left-handed pitching. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's we like Kansas City against lefties anyways, and now you're getting Garcia at 2,200 hitting fifth. I can definitely get there tonight's slate for sure. Shortstop, speaking of Royals, Bobby Witt's here hitting second, another guy that just matches Southpaws. Seager, I'm okay getting to at 6K if you're stacking against Gossman, if you think you want to be a little different there. How are you approaching Trey Turner tonight against JP Sears?
I mean, he's been really good, dude. And we're getting a version of Turner where he's getting on and he's going too, which I think is the most important thing to reach this price point. We've talked about this a lot with JP Sears. Like, he's kind of tough to stack against, but he's going to give up a home run somewhere. Like, he does give up power. That's been the calling. Righties have a 258 ISO against them.
Yeah.
And Turner suddenly, against left-handed pitching, has a 200 ISO and a 310 WOBA. Like, the numbers are creeping up slowly here. So, yeah, I could definitely get behind Trey Turner. Him and Witt are my favorite 2 shortstops over 5K, and 2 of my favorite shortstops overall.
Yeah, I'm with you there for sure. Mid-tier guys. We've talked about McLean already here. Carlos Correa will get a lefty at some point at $4,300, maybe starting to come around. We've talked about Dubon at 36. What other shortstops are jumping out to you tonight?
None. Is that an okay answer?
Just those guys?
Correa. I like Correa in that spot. I like Dubon. Everyone else in like Tovar is in an interesting lineup spot, hitting second. He's coming off a home run and hits in 3 straight, but like, I don't know. They just can't hit lefties, and that's kind of been the case all year. Here's
Schuster. Then we didn't talk about Schuster at pitching. Is there any interest in Schuster for you? No.
No. I think this is something that's interesting. Okay, Giants are starting Brebbia. Sean Manaea is the long man.
Right.
Chris Taylor is sitting here at 3,100, and we know Chris Taylor's pedigree this year specifically against left-handed pitching, and just in general. we know the Dodgers' pedigree against
Yeah, we didn't
left-handed
talk
pitching.
Vargas, but he's a pretty cheap
Yeah,
second baseman.
look, Manhaya, not exactly the best. Chris Taylor has a 4. It's just the numbers just keep going up.
Manaya's
400.
been pretty good since being moved into this long
Sure.
relief position. He did get rocked in Coors, but I'll just assume that was an
Chalk that
in
one up
Coors
as cores.
situation.
Yeah, chalk that one up as cores. Even though he has been better, 292 ISO to righties, 398 WOBA on the year,
Sure.
and dating back to last year, 227 ISO, 355 WOBA to righties. So I don't know. Like, I'm not saying you have to go in on the Dodgers. I'm also just saying we didn't mention anything Dodgers related
Sure.
against potentially a guy who's still bad and just has had a good stretch.
Yeah, if we're not buying in on Tehran here, Marcano's going to lead off at 2,500. Could go in that direction. And you mentioned Bohm briefly, but I just clicked by him again here. Sears gives up a lot of home runs, so you could, Philly could be in a spot here to hit a few home runs tonight if you wanted to go up against JP Sears here. Trey Turner obviously up at the top, but someone that you could take a little peek at. Over at the outfield spot, again, a lot of top end talent here. You talk about stacking Braves here tonight. Is it that people can't get to Olsen because they're spending $6,600 on Acuna?
Let's look at outfield ownership. Yes, him and Ohtani are the 2 highest rostered players.
Right, hard to pay for all of them. Right,
hard to play for all of them. I'm not saying that's the wrong approach, because just like you could play Olsen Ohtani, you could play Ohtani Acuna.
right.
There's obviously leverage going to Olsen, who's hit for more power against right-handed pitching. Acuna has him slightly edged out in the WOBA department, and we know Acuna, obviously, if he just reaches first or second, he might, even if he reaches third, he might steal home. Who knows? So obviously Acuna has us there, has Olsen there. Yeah, perfectly fine going to Acuna. I mean, has 29 stolen bases. We're in the middle of June. 29 stolen bases. We're in the middle of June. Like, what are we doing here? This guy is incredible.
I got word that Globe Life is going to play with the field dome closed this evening. I don't know if that is better or worse for hitting or pitching. You can always dive into that data there. And I know sometimes you open it, balls fly out, you close it, they stay in. So we'll have to see if that makes any sort of impact for the Toronto and Texas game here this evening. You mentioned Acuna, Ohtani's here. Bats again, eventually we'll get a lefty, but he's leads off, so he gets Brevia to begin the game. Trout gets Singer. I mean, how are you kind of ranking out after those Ohtani, Acuna tier of outfielders?
After that tier, Corbin Carroll's obviously at the top of the list. I know you are right there.
Yeah, big Corbin guy tonight for sure.
McKenzie can be really good, but the guy has faced every pitcher in baseball lately, and he's just dominated every single one of them. He gets on first, he can steal you 2 bases, he can hit a home run. He's just that dude. I like Buxton at 5K in the middle of that lineup. I just like the Twins a little bit tonight. Bryce, I think, is alive for a home run, obviously. Trout, live for a home run. So those are probably the 4 guys. And JD, even though JD hasn't been very good lately, he's also been way worse against lefties this year. He's dominated righties. So
good ISO against lefties, though, you said, right?
Good ISO. Yeah, good ISO against lefties. Actually, before good ISO against lefties. Decent numbers against lefties. Just dominant numbers against righties.
Right. In this, I talked about the home runs allowed. Schwarber has a lot of power against lefties this year. Sears gives up a lot of home runs. You could see a Schwarber connect on this one here tonight. Guys that are in this upper 4K range. Julio Rodriguez gets Kopech. We like Kopech, but that's a good price tag for Julio being under 5K there. Soler has a lot of power. We know Lewis Robert homered last night. You're in on Woo, but power for Chicago here. Him and Aloy in that 4K range.
Yeah, well, Marlins getting a little bit of ownership love here, specifically Soler and Jesus Sanchez, and I think that does have to do with Trevor Williams' lack of keeping the ball in the ballpark. But like specifically against lefties is where Trevor Williams has been. I guess not this year. This year has been pretty evenly. He's been terrible on both ends of
Just
the
bad
split.
overall. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been lefties for a large part of the year, but 280 ISO to righties. I mean, 280 ISO to righties, and you have to face Jorge Soler, who has 20 home runs and 3 home runs in his last 4 games. That's pretty scary. So I guess I understand where the field's coming from there. I definitely have interest in George Springer, 4,900, Luis Robert, 47. I'm on the fence about Brian Wu. I think Brian Wu has a lot of upside, but like he also has given up a bunch of runs.
Sure.
I mean, we saw it in the first start too. He's a guy who jumped from Double A. Like the endless amount of pitchers this year that have jumped from Double A to the majors, and some have been really good, and some have been okay, and some have been bad. Like, so there's always the case. And Nick Castellanos, 46, hitting third, or I don't know if we have the Phillies lineup officially, but likely hitting
He's
third.
usually right there.
So I don't think there's anything Philadelphia. No, nothing yet on Philly. But I like Castellanos.
On PrizePicks for Carroll Turner over half a steal. Hard not to take the over on that one, right?
Yeah, I mean, Turner gets the better end of the split, and he's hitting 375 over his last 10 games. And he's actually been on base 20 times in that span in 10 games because he has 5 walks. He's just got
to steal against a lefty. And then Carroll, again, people like McKenzie as a good pitcher, so they probably downgrade D-backs a little bit here, but Carroll will go on anybody. So
19 stolen bases on the year.
Yeah, I'd be willing to take it. Again, it's not like a guarantee. I think I think the individual stolen base props in those guys, I'll just pull those up quickly now for you since we're kind of on the subject here. Individual stolen base props for those guys. Where is Philly? There it is. Philly, Trey Turner is plus 225 on over a half. Carroll's plus 180 on over a half, which is a pretty good number there. Jake McCarthy plus 145 tonight. So, I mean, yeah, you're getting some pretty good odds here. It's rare that a guy is under plus 200 for a stolen bag, unless you're like a Story Ruiz. So, who is at plus 130 tonight, just for reference.
Plus 130.
Yeah, you're almost getting even money in a Ruiz stolen base. So I like that. J1 Bay plus 150 for a stolen base tonight against Tehran. So that's kind of an interesting little number there too.
Yeah, he's up to 19 on the year.
Yeah, so a guy that could be looking to run tonight. He's usually some cheap value on the slate. We didn't talk much Pirates tonight, but we don't believe much in Tehran often either. So I don't mind that. I don't mind the dual stolen base prop there. I think Vegas thinks Carroll a little bit more likely than Turner, but both obviously elite stolen base guys. So can certainly go that. Like I said, my PrizePicks video is out on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube. It's also out on fantasyalarm.com website as well. So you can check out my 2 plays of the day over there, and see what we got going on for the PrizePicks plays of the day. Other outfielders in this mid-tier, I like Lane Thomas at 4K against Alcantara again. It just seems like he's questionable this season here as well. De La Cruz, you mentioned, he's $3,800. Luke Raley's $3,800. Anybody else for you? Ozuna probably, I guess, at 37 would be in play.
Ozuna definitely in play. Sawinski in play, 36. Will Sawinski double dong is the question. I'll get to Michael Harris, who's been raking lately. This is the Michael Harris that we all expected him to be. 385 average. You get the wraparound stack, and you want some cheap Braves. That's your exposure hitting 9th. So Rosario hitting 7th. Lefties are the ones that are really killing Dinelson Lamet. That's probably it. And then you just get down into this.
Sawinski's plus 275 to homer tonight, by the way. So that's
quite good. Yeah, quite good odds.
Pretty good. Deep down value, guys. Moniak's leading off tonight at 3,200. I like that against Singer.
Homer yesterday.
Yeah, I like that a lot tonight. I know Angel stacks have been up and down for us this year, but I do like him leading off. His Story's leading off, as mentioned, plus 130 to steal a bag. So a single and stolen base, 8 points right there, right off the bat, right? Like gets on base, steals second. He's paid off his price tag at 3,100. Jaquan Bay, as you mentioned, J1 Bay is rather 3K down here. I always like Leotis. Doesn't really matter the matchup. Travis McCormick gets a lefty here at 3K. You've talked about Jordan Walker. We'll see if this game gets hit or not, but he's been hot lately. Weimer and his power is all against left-handed pitching. So if you're not in on Rich Hill tonight, Weimer could be a guy that you're giving a peek to in your lineups. Jesus Sanchez is $2,800 hitting cleanup tonight for Miami, as you mentioned. Some people looking at Miami for rostership here. Edward Olivares hits against lefties, $2,500 for him.
Third.
So hitting third tonight. So some pretty interesting spots down here for value. Fairchild's homered in 2 of the last 3 games as well, and he's got France and his struggles against righties. So
yeah, and Fairchild, I was just looking at it, has good numbers against right-handed pitching in that specific category. Power 187 ISO this year against righties. So that's where you attack JP France. Like, you just attack him with right-handed bats. And then Mark mentioned Dairon Blanco is 2K again, back in the lineup. Hits in all 3.
It's a lefty. It's my only worry, but still, eventually he's got to steal a bag, right?
Yeah, I mean, he stole every single. He wasn't even reaching base, and he was stealing from the dugout, seemingly, in the minor leagues. So.
Dickerson, by the way, is 2,200, hitting 5th. Another 2 hits, an RBI, and a walk last night. Very much paying off $2,200 with 9 to 10 fantasy points the last 2 nights here. So can certainly go there. Got thrown out stealing last night. Don't know why he was trying to steal, but he did. So.
Didn't hurt you, John. Okay, it didn't hurt you.
Ultimately, it did not hurt me. No, it did not. The Nats cashed my 170 money line up 2 prop there. So, James, let's go build a lineup for the people. What do you say?
Do you want to do our Grande Gems?
Oh yeah, we gotta do our Grande Gems. That's true. Impemba imprints, please. Go ahead, lead us off.
Home run call. I'm gonna go Matt Olson. He has some of the best home run odds today. And you know what? No more disrespecting Matt Olson tonight. He's going to homer. Top stack of the night is the Braves. I want to say Cincinnati is my contrarian stack. I don't want to steal that from you.
I was going to say, you know exactly where I was going. So.
All right, so I'll remove Cincinnati from my contrarian stack, and I'll just flip over to the other side of this game and go Houston, given Abbott's struggles, at least not the service level, but peripheral numbers are struggling. I'll go Houston. Only 2 available outfielders signed on DraftKings. I find interesting. They're playing 2 catchers, 2 first basemen. So I don't know. We'll see. That's interesting. My star of the night is going to be Shohei Ohtani. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change it up. I'm going to go pitcher tonight. I'm going to go Michael Kopech as my star of the night tonight. And my value play of the night is going to be Michael Harris.
Okay. I like that one. Top stack. Yeah, I agree. The top stack, but the chalk stack is going to be Atlanta. I'm going to say that Tampa Bay is my top spend up contrarian stack, though. Again, if everybody's playing you Darvish, I want Tampa Bay in this spot here. I'm going to go against them. I agree with you. Reds there, good value, mid tier stack. Kansas City will be my value stack, though. I think Kansas City is in a good spot here against Sandoval, so I like that, them being at home. My home run call is India, as I mentioned earlier today. If we're looking for a value play today, I'm going to go back to Chas McCormick here against Abbott. Just the power that he brings to the table against left-handed pitching. I like the upside that he has for that one there. My star of the night, I guess we'll keep it with the Braves here, and we'll go with
Acuna Matata.
Yep, that's where we're at. All right, let's go and build some lineups here. We're going to go Kopech and Hill, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, that was the lineup that I built as well.
All right, Kopech and Hill. Catcher spot.
Like, I like Darno the most, but I just don't know if we can get there. There's just so much star power. Let's start
with Tice, and if we can move around, we'll move around.
Yeah, that's how I.
Do you want what? Olsen, I would imagine.
I honestly mostly want Ohtani. But I also am building with Olsen and Ohtani right now. That is how I am currently constructing my lineup. But we cannot do Acuna as well. I don't think we can afford that. So we're gonna have to make a decision and probably remove.
We could. Well, never say never.
Michael Garcia is. Donovan's. Who are you looking for here?
My computer froze, and I just started clicking numbers there.
Okay.
He's a third baseman.
Yeah.
Okay.
My computer froze, and I started clicking. You're funny. Beezy, what do you got, bro? Hit us with what you got. You're racking your brain making swaps. What do you got? We'll help you. Give us a two versus two, 3 versus 3, 1 versus 1. 1 versus 1 versus 1. Like, what do you got? While John's just out here trying to make a stars and scrub.
I'm not going to say I didn't make it happen for you, but
MLB edition, and got Jonathan India in there. I'm impressed.
I'm not saying I didn't just make it happen for you, but I just made it happen for you. Kopech, Rich Hill, Tice, however you want to call his name. Matt Olson, Jonathan India, Michael Garcia, Tucupita Marcano, Shohei Ohtani, Ron Acuna, and Corey Dickerson there. $0 remaining. Don't say we can't make it happen, James. So we made it happen tonight. 14 games, plenty of value on the main slate. So if you want to go a little stars and scrubs here, I kind of like the lineup. Not going to lie. Not going to lie to you. I kind of don't mind it.
Yeah. It's not bad.
I kind of don't mind it.
No, I don't. I'm trying to. So I was messing around with something similar. I just could not get to.
Michael Massey just got scratched for Kansas City here tonight. So I wonder who pops into the lineup. Nicky Lopez, maybe.
Probably Nicky Lopez. Yeah, but I think where were they hitting Massey tonight? I know they've been hitting him 5th against righties. They were hitting him 7th. Feels like a clear cut. Nicky Lopez just plug there. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the lineup that we've just kind of come out. If you want to go stars and scrubs here, fitting Atlanta top 2 studs with Ohtani here. Again, I liked Jonathan India, but you can certainly have the salary to spend around and fit some other plays in there. To get a little bit more salary into your lineups. Dubon, Merrifield, all down there in this range as well. So, again, if you want to play around with some lineups, that's fine. You can go down to Woo, get an extra $1,000 at the pitching spot. A lot of different ways there to go tonight. One last time here before James and I are gone for the weekend, but we'll be back on Monday. Those of you who don't already know, the Fantasy Alarm NFL Fantasy Football Draft Guide is live. Go to fantasyalarm.com/draft guide for access if you already have an All-Pro subscription. If you don't have an All-Pro subscription, you can sign up and get the draft guide for free. Comes with a 7-day free trial as well, and it's 50% off the first 6 months with promo code NFL50. Or if you want to buy just the draft guide by itself and get the cheat sheet included, it's $26.99. Go to fantasyalarm.com/draft guide to check out everything we got going on. It is fantasy football season already. This is a living draft guide on site, updated throughout the offseason here. No hard copies because that data gets out of date. We will update the rankings, the projections, the content, anything you want, player profiles as news happens throughout the offseason. So you can start winning and draft like a champion with us today. James, final words for the people at home tuning in to tonight's Better Baseball MLB DFS Playbook Show.
Happy Friday, and my Chipotle just got here.
Enjoy your Chipotle. Enjoy your week.